Hi guys, welcome to my channel. I'm never gonna get used to saying that. That just sounds so narcissistic, but hello. Um, you chances are you've probably not been to this channel before. I don't know what my uploads are gonna be like at this minute, but I'll introduce myself. My name's Dario. I have borderline personality disorder and schizophrenia, and I also have psychogenic non-epileptic seizures. Lots of things that probably a lot of people don't know anything about. But I'm also a qualified therapist, and I came across this video on, well, I didn't come across it, I've not watched it yet, but people have just been raving about this TikTok video called Favorite Person, and apparently it's about this girl who has BPD, and she describes BPD in some perfect way or something. So I thought I'd watch it and kind of give my take on it as a therapist and a sufferer of BPD myself. So I've just got it up on my laptop here. Let's get into it. I also like to say I do not own the rights to this video. The rights solely are solely owned by the person who made this video. So let's get into it.
I have been diagnosed as borderline personality disorder for about 5 years now, and I've been going to therapy, and something that I've learned about myself that is a trait of borderline that I was not able to put into words, I finally have a term for it. It's called favorite person, and basically I grew up in an environment of consistent invalidation, so now I don't know who I am and I seek validation from other people. Sometimes I'll meet...
Okay, so she said a lot in like the 10 seconds I've already played it, but she is making very good valid points. People with BPD, it's really a battle between, there's an inner conflict within yourself, and it's the constant need to be validated, like she said, but that also comes from a fear of abandonment. Usually with people with BPD, we see cases of people who've had very traumatic childhoods where they've experienced neglect and abuse. And because of that, growing up, we have not got the validation and the love and the care that we have needed from our primary caregivers, which disrupts our development. So that's kind of like what she's discussing there. As a person with BPD, I would also say that it is a very real thing. Your need to be validated in your emotions, your need to actually hear the words as well. It's not just actions, people. Sometimes people with BPD have to literally hear the words word for word for them to believe it, or for them to, you know, actually have that validate them. So it's very interesting, the points that she's making here. Let's continue.
Buddy in my brain says, this is it, this is your favorite person, and I base my entire existence off of the way that they treat me.
Okay, this is really interesting because people with BPD, they see things in a very monochromatic way. So it's either black or white, and that's how we describe the thinking processes of someone with BPD. There's very little room for grey areas, and especially when it comes to relationships and the people that we connect with. It's because one minute you love them and they're your favourite person in the world, and you will do anything and you think that you've got it, good, you're sorted. But over time, because you've got unresolved issues and traumas that buried very deep in your psyche, the way you have an outlook on this relationship changes. And because we have black and white thinking, there's no grey area. We forget that all the good things that happened, and we only have a one-track mind of thinking this person's a bad person now. So going from your favourite person to your bad person can be quite distressing and quite alarming at some times.
Tone changes if they don't text me back. If I get left on red, my whole world feels like it's crumbling.
I relate to this so much on a sufferer level, because I think before I decided to kind of train as a therapist, I was a lot like that. Like, if people were not messaging me back within, you know, an hour, if people were not telling me that they're proud of me, if people are not showing me these signs of validation and affection, I did not think I had it. And a lot of people with BPD will tell you, if you ask them, have you ever been happy? Have you ever been loved? their usual answer is going to be no. That whole idea of love and happiness is an alien feeling. Because even though in times when we are loved and validated, it's hard to take that at face value. Okay.
Start questioning my self-worth. I feel really down on myself. And
that's a very interesting point. Thing with BPD, not only does this fear of abandonment control how we perceive our environment, it also controls how we perceive our inner emotion. For example, if someone did not text you back in an hour, the reason why it's so important is because the feelings that occur when that happens is so intense. And those feelings are like, I'm worthless, no one loves me, I'm going to die alone. They're so extreme from something basically so minuscule, but that's kind of how our cognitions and our neuropsychology works. On a kind of therapist level, DBT, dialectical behaviour therapy, is a really good way to overcome these sort of thought processes. What it does, it gives you a lot of affirmations. It's taken a lot from neuro-linguistic programming. And if you don't know what that is, that's just basically positive affirmations. And by doing DBT and doing these affirmations, we kind of rewire our cognitions to think, if someone doesn't text us back in an hour or doesn't text us back at all, it does not have any implication on our dispositions whatsoever.
I do get that validation. I'm like on top of the fucking world. It's not fair for me to put...
That's what I was talking about before. When you do get that validation, and BPD have intense mood swings. And these happen throughout multiple times throughout one day. And I think people get confused with bipolar disorder quite often because of these mood swings. But the difference between bipolar and BPD is BPD has the fluctuation of mood swings on the scale of bipolar a lot more often and in a lot quicker time scale. Someone with bipolar disorder might be depressed for up to a couple of months, and also might have extreme mania, which is overactive behaviours that are not necessarily good and quite often self-destructive. They can last for months or so. With BPD, these sort of behaviours can happen multiple times a day, within hours, within minutes, within seconds. Like it just completely varies on what's kind of the stimulus is on the outside world.
Person on a pedestal and expect them to validate my entire existence. That's not fair. I'll stop eating.
It'll be kind of curious to know exactly. She said that she went to see a therapist. It'll be kind of interesting to know what kind of therapy she's doing in. Is it CBT or DBT? Because a lot of things that she's saying at the minute are very indicative of someone who has been in DBT for quite some time.
I don't sleep. I get consistent panic attacks. I'm sharing this because
So, insomnia and panic attacks are not typically thought of when you think of BPD. But that just shows you how misunderstood the condition is. A brief history into borderline personality. Borderline personality disorder was discovered by scientists and psychologists who had these patients who were coming in with multiple symptoms of different diagnoses. And this was neurosis and psychosis. So we had patients coming in that maybe had symptoms of OCD, depression, anxiety, phobias, but they also experienced very extreme episodes of psychosis. So we're thinking here about schizophrenia, we're thinking here about different personality disorders. When scientists kind of saw that there was a pattern of these people who were experiencing neurosis and psychosis, it was a very alien concept, and then they coined it borderline personality disorder. And it's not borderline. A lot of people hear borderline and they automatically think like some sort of devalued or lesser personality disorder or lesser illness because it has borderline, but actually the borderline is in there to indicate how actually severe it is. Borderline personality disorder is one of the only disorders where people can actually experience neurosis and psychosis at once. I understand that some of the words I'm saying are probably don't mean a lot to you. I think this is still a new channel, so hopefully I'll be putting up more videos about, you know, kind of what things mean and kind of my experiences. But we're coming to the end of the video now. It'll be interesting to see how she ends it.
I really hope that this can help somebody else, because I didn't know that this was even a thing.
So it's very, you know, even that one sentence, I really hope this will help someone else, is very, very characteristic of BPD. Borderline personality disorders have a bad rep for being people that don't have control of their emotions, who lose their temper a lot, and they have a pretty bad rep for not being nice people. But it's completely misunderstood, because people with BPD actually tend to be the most caring individuals I've ever met. And in myself, I can say I'm a very caring person. I care a lot about other people's feelings, probably to the point where it's a detriment to myself. So even her saying that last sentence there, you know, I hope it helps somebody, is very indicative of what borderline personality disorder is. I guess I hope you found this video helpful. I hope that you come back for more. Great. See you.